start her panel discussion and introduce the participants.
Yes. Well, good morning again, everyone. Before I get started, I just wanted to ask you, how many of you out there are broker-dealers? Okay, great. And how many are lawyers? Wow. Okay, so we have almost equal amount of broker-dealers and lawyers. I think that says something about the environment that we're in. So, the panel that we have here today is going to talk about regulation and specifically the self in regulation. The self in self-regulation, which I think many of you, if I asked you, would say doesn't exist anymore. Hopefully we will give you a little bit of a different perspective on that and show you that there is some self in self-regulation. However, it has to be channeled through a process, and it takes an awful lot of participation from other people. People in the industry need to participate in this to make a difference. So before I go any further, I said I would tell you a little bit about myself. I am the chairman and majority owner of Winslow in downtown Boston. Winslow has been a long-time member of NIBA, which we're very proud of. We have participated in a number of deals that have been introduced to us. So I commend you all out there. It's an incredibly difficult environment, but this is a wonderful organization and allows us to do something very important, which is to help small companies get on their feet and raise some money, and with that hopefully we'll help our economy and grow some businesses and grow some jobs. So now what I'd like to do is just ask each of the panelists here to introduce themselves, and since this is a panel about regulation, just to mention what their affiliation is within the regulatory regime. And I guess I forgot that I'm on the small firm advisory board, and so that gives me a little bit of insight, more than I had a few years ago, into the self process. So to my right is Chip Jones. Chip.
I guess we have to share these.
Yes.
There you go. Hi, my name's Chip Jones. I actually work for FINRA, and I run the member relations department. So my primary goal is to make sure that there is self in self-regulation. So I'm happy to be here for that. I've been in the business 24 years, both on the firm side and on the regulatory side, both state and with NASD and FINRA.
All right. I'm Ken Norensberg. Sorry, allergies are killing me this morning. Again, I'm the managing director of Luxor Financial Group. I've been in the securities business for the past 15 years. I pretty much do anything and everything involving broker-dealers. At this point, thank you, Chip, my particular specialty is in building out broker-dealers and dealing with regulatory issues. I am also a now second-term member of the FINRA Board of Governors, and hopefully we'll go into that process later in trying to get more members to participate in that process and to inform you, the members, how that process works and how the members can be more involved in that and be heard.
Great. Joe.
Thank you. My name's Joe Romano. As I mentioned before, I'm president of Romano Brothers and Company. We're just outside of Chicago. We're about a 50-year-old firm founded by my father. We're wealth managers. We've got about 20 employees, so we're a small firm. About half of those are registered reps and registered investment advisors. I'm a past president of Illinois SIFMA. We're an offshoot of SIFMA, but one of the active states that's associated with SIFMA. So that's comprised of executives and upper management of many of the Chicago firms. I'm also active currently in District 8, serving on the District 8 FINRA committee and also the Small Firm Advisory Board. Thanks for having me here.
Great. As I've looked out, I've seen that there are a few people that I recognize as having participated in the industry committee process within FINRA, or formerly NASD. And in particular, I see John Lane right up at the front of the room. So I wanted to say thank you to John for your past participation, and also for being so willing to help us out here. I believe I saw Jack Fitzgerald in the room, and he's a former Small Firm Advisory Board member. I wonder, is there anyone else out there who's been on a FINRA or formerly NASD committee that, and I'm sorry, and you are?
Tony Petrelli.
Tony. Well, great. Thank you all very much for your participation, because it really does make a difference. You know, I had a little bit of fun when I did this outline, if you can say that, talking about regulation is fun. So I hope you'll enjoy the little phrases that I used. Is anybody listening is what Chip is going to speak to, because I think it's important that you know that there are avenues for members to go to where they need some direction, and I think Chip can go through the process and what it takes to be heard.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. So, you know, there are a lot of people. I talk to a lot of groups like this, a lot of, you know, primarily FINRA broker-dealer member firms at different conferences and venues, and then Rick Ketchum and myself and other senior executives at FINRA, we travel around the country and we hold roundtable meetings or breakfast meetings. And some of you, in fact, Rick and I were just up here in Boston about 4 weeks ago, and held a breakfast meeting. I don't know if some of you attended that meeting. And so what we do is, the purpose in that is to actually go out and reach out to the broker-dealer firms and talk to them about the regulation, how it impacts their business and their firm, to bring that feedback back to Washington, and sort of talk with the powers that be there about any changes that might need to be made with respect to how we can do our jobs better. So that's sort of the purpose in that. The member relations group was actually formed by Mary Shapiro. She was my boss before going over to the SEC, and back in 2006, she was sort of looking around the organization, and you know, we've got enforcement, we've got member regulation, we've got market regulation, so we've got all these departments that are focused primarily on enforcing the rules, as you would expect a self-regulatory organization to do. But what we didn't have was a particular group that went out and reached out to the broker-dealer firms and talked to them and had a dialogue with them about how we as FINRA actually regulate the broker-dealers. So she asked me to head up the department. So we started that back in 2006, and I think we've been successful at implementing a program that, as I said, goes out with the primary purpose of reaching out to the broker-dealer firms. So there are also a number of other programs in addition to sort of overseeing the Small Firm Advisory Board, FINRA's membership committee, and our district committees. As I said, we set up conferences and meetings to go out and talk to firms. We bring that feedback back to D.C. One of the other things that Tina mentioned is your opportunity to influence or have or partake in the rulemaking process. We don't just, contrary to popular belief, we don't sit around in Washington and just sort of think up rules to try and make your lives miserable. There's a very in-depth process that a rule goes through before being implemented, and that includes being looked at by a number of FINRA standing committees, including the Small Firm Advisory Board and other committees. We take comments from those groups, make changes to the particular regulation before it goes to the FINRA board, where it's discussed at greater length, and then it goes out in probably 60 to 80% of the time in a reg notice before being filed with the Securities and Exchange Commission. So when it's put out in a reg notice, basically what we're doing is we're asking for your comment as to how you think this particular rule is going to impact your ability to do business. And if you don't comment, I mean, this is your opportunity to weigh in on the process and weigh in on that particular rule. And if you don't comment, then we have no way of knowing whether or not we've come up with a workable rule or not. So I would encourage you to do that. Basically, what happens then is before we file that rule with the SEC, we have to take all the comments that came in through the regulatory notice, respond to each of those comments when we file the rule with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then the process, it's the same process again. The SEC publishes it in the Federal Register. There's a comment period, generally 21 days, and during that time you have another bite at the apple, if you will, in order to provide your thoughts and comments with respect to a particular rule. So I would encourage each and every one of you to, when we put these things out, I know you have businesses to run, so the last thing you want to do is keep an eye on the FINRA website for when we're publishing new rules. But we do send out a weekly email on every Wednesday, so you will see that. So you got it. So those of you who are executive reps for your firm, and those of you who subscribe to the weekly email received it last night, and so it's in your inbox this morning. And if there are new rules that are being published, they will be included in that weekly email. So I would encourage you to take a look at that and make sure that that you're reviewing that. Make sure that you comment on these rules, because otherwise, like I said, we have no way of knowing of whether or not we've come up with a good rule or a bad rule.